Republicans tell us what should happen if the country defaults and the United States cannot pay their bills and we hit the debt limit, well, the final debt limit, and the country actually runs out of money. And we're starting to see more and more ideas or actual realizations for what could fix Social Security from lawmakers. And I'll give you some ideas on what that could be in this video. Also, in this video, we're going to talk about how the $2,400 raise for Social Security and how this would extend Social Security solvency by 75 years, how this will come into play in one of the fixes for Social Security and could raise your benefits by $2,400 a year. So make sure to watch this video all the way through. So let's jump right in. Thank you so much for hitting the like button for us. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on new videos. Here we go. Okay, so the US has already passed the debt limit or the debt ceiling, which basically means that the government can no longer borrow any more money, and we can no longer print any more money either until Congress, the Republicans and Democrats, come to an agreement to actually allow this to happen. And it's a pretty serious thing. And we're expected to run out of money here in less than 120 days by the beginning of June. And the problem is Republicans and Democrats have basically, they're not even anywhere close. They haven't even negotiated on it. The Democrats are saying that they don't want to negotiate on this at all, that they shouldn't have to, that the debt limit has been raised like 80 times in the past. And this presents a serious problem. So much so that Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is very nervous about the U.S. actually defaulting on its debt. And we've actually passed the debt limit and the debt ceiling. I think that's the first time ever that we've actually passed it. And now we're basically running on the checking account money that the U.S. has on hand because we can't borrow anymore or print anymore. This is a pretty serious thing. So serious that Republicans, basically the number 2 Senate Republican behind Mitch McConnell, Rick Scott from Florida, has presented a plan to prioritize certain payments in the U.S. if the government actually defaults. And they can't come to an agreement here. This is how serious it's getting. Yeah, Senator Rick Scott from Florida, a Republican, circulated a letter to his Senate colleagues urging them to back his plan to ensure the federal government does not default on interest payments or payments to Social Security beneficiaries if Congress fails to raise the debt limits before the Treasury runs out of borrowing authority. You can see here they mention payments to Social Security beneficiaries and interest payments. Pretty much everything is affected here because even though Congress, the Republicans have said that they don't want to cut Social Security benefits and Medicare right now, even though some Republicans have mentioned they do want to cut benefits there, that's a different thing here because if Congress or if the government actually runs out of money because they don't raise the debt limit, they can't borrow any more money or print any more money, and the government physically runs out of money in the checking accounts, that's a different story. There would basically be no money left, and they wouldn't be allowed to print any more money until Congress actually agrees to it. I know this whole debt limit thing is kind of redundant and ridiculous at this point. They've had to raise it like 80 times, and a lot of people think they should just get rid of it because like 99.9% of spending has to be agreed by Congress to begin with. You know, they have to, approve the government bills and the military spending and, the government budgets and all these things have to be approved to begin with. And then they have this debt limit on top of all this stuff over and above it that they have to approve again, like every year again. And it's just a matter of time until this is going to cause a major government default that's never happened before. This isn't a government shutdown. This is a default. If the government defaults, it's basically saying the full faith and credit of the government is no longer. The government dollar is not worth anything. The government's credit that they'll actually pay you back for bonds and interest, it doesn't mean anything. And the U.S. is supposed to be this gold standard of dollar and creditworthiness. The government can't pay you back with Social Security and interest and Medicare and Medicaid and U.S. savings bonds. If the government runs out of money and can't pay its bills, how do they expect you to pay your bills? You think about your credit rating. Well, if the government's credit rating, if they run out of money and they can't pay their bills, how do they expect the average person to pay their bills? So this is a pretty significant thing. And if the U.S. government defaults, expect the worst. Expect the stock market to plummet. Expect 401ks, IRAs, pensions to, who knows what would happen. Now, we're still 110 days away from this or something like that. The problem is that the Republicans are now circulating a plan of what to do if this happens because they're nowhere close to making any ground on it. Yeah, so Republican Senator Scott's bill is co-sponsored by Senator Ron Johnson. He's a fan favorite, right? Sarcasm, is called the Full Faith and Credit Act and would require the Treasury Department to continue to pay principal and interest on debt held by the public and ensure Social Security payments continue to the old age and disability beneficiaries, as long as they physically have enough money to actually do so, right? It would also prioritize payments to active members of the armed services and U.S. Coast Guard and compensation and pensions provided by the Veterans Affairs Department, the VA. Finally, it would also instruct the Treasury Department to prioritize Medicare payments. Again, this is assuming that the government has money to do all this stuff, right? Their bill ensures that the Treasury Department will not run out of money to cover debt payments, Social Security payments, and other obligations because it requires the Treasury Secretary to notify Congress of any expected revenue shortfall and raise the debt limit by the amount necessary to cover those prioritized on a 2-week basis. But remember, this would even happen to begin with because they didn't raise the debt limit in the first place. So if they can't raise the debt limit in the first place, what would make them think that they would raise it to prevent this from happening? It's like saying that you would put out a fire when your house is already burning down. Why didn't you put out the fire when your house is already burning down to begin with? It's just like, trying to make sense out of Congress in the first place. So let me know your thoughts here on this. And then you think about okay, well, all right, well, this makes you wonder why Congress, 95% of Congress gets House and Senate, gets reelected every election, right? It's like, oh, okay. People always say, oh, we need change. And, senators and congressmen, congressmen, congresswomen, they need to have term limits. Well, all you need to do is vote them out. If you don't like somebody, just vote them out. But yet 95% of them get reelected every time. So fancy me that, right? So then, another big problem that Congress has to work on right now is Social Security. It's slowly or quickly running out of money. The newest report from the Congressional Budget Office says that as quickly as 2033, 10 years, and another report says 12 years, the Social Security and Medicare could run out of money based on the projections. And a lot of this has to do with the inflation. 8.7% cost of living adjustment just went out, the 4th largest cost of living adjustment for Social Security ever. So that's taking a big chunk out of the money that's in there. It's the 4th largest ever. So more money is going out of the Social Security Trust Fund than expected. Okay. So this is a problem. So more money is going out to all the Social Security beneficiaries. So more money is going out than expected. And so now they're saying, okay, well, this is going to deplete the funds faster. And also the baby boomer generation, more and more people retiring every single day. So there's a larger portion of the population retiring here on a daily basis. So the one thing that Senator Joe Manchin here just proposed is the easiest solution here. And we've seen both Republicans and Democrats propose this. In fact, it's the premise here for the $2,400 bill. It was originally proposed by Senator Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. And actually, there's like three different versions of this bill, all kind of similar proposals here. And Senator Bernie Sanders has been kind of one of the guys that have actually started this. And now both Republicans and Democrats both like this idea. But only the Democrats actually want to raise benefits by $2,400 and actually expand Social Security. The Republicans actually have a similar plan as well that would use the same um, idea of how it would work. And what this would do is actually raise taxes on wealthy individuals. By the way, this bill also would extend the solvency for Social Security by 75 years. You can see that here in this bill by Senator Bernie Sanders. This is directly on his Senate.gov page. Okay. So Senator Bernie Sanders was, I believe, the first senator, or one of the first senators to kind of come up with this idea, would be to. So last year in 2022, people stopped paying into Social Security at about $147,000 of income. So if you had more than $147,000 of income, you stopped paying into the Social Security system because that was the maximum you could earn for Social Security for that year. So you stop paying into Social Security past $147,000 because you hit the maximum threshold for Social Security. In 2023, because inflation kind of bumped it up a lot, the maximum you can pay in Social Security is $160,000. They want to bump that threshold or get rid of it. So depending on how they would enact the bill, that you would pay into it again at $250,000 or $400,000. Again, there's a couple versions of this bill, and you would pay into it above those thresholds into perpetuity. So if you made 5 million, 10 million, 100 million, or a billion, billions of dollars, think about the billionaires out there that make lots and lots of money. They would pay a lot of money, and they would pay the 12.4%. So they would pay both the 6.2% of an employee and the 6.2% of an employer. So they would pay an additional 12.4% of taxes, which is a lot of money. You think at high income tax rates, they're paying like 35%, and then they're going to pay that extra 12.4% just for Social Security. And they're going to have state taxes and stuff like that. They're going to be paying over 50%. So it's a lot of taxes. The government's going to be making more money than they are. So it's a lot of money. But all that extra money would go into the Social Security Trust Fund and would be able to save Social Security. Okay. Both the Republicans and Democrats like this idea. But the Democrats know, because Social Security has done the math, that so much money would go into Social Security from this that they would be able to pay out an additional $2,400 a year for everybody. And it would actually extend the solvency by 75 years. And Social Security, actually, the administration did the math on this. And they're not Democrats or Republicans. They just had their accountants, their mathematicians do the math on this. So they could do that. Republicans like the idea on this too. They just have not gone along with the raise for $2,400 a year, but they could. But they could. The other idea that's come into play now as well, as you can see here, Social Security needs a financial lifeline. Could this be it? And well, I've already read this, so I'll cut to the chase here and give you the idea here on it. Would be, and taxpayers and working individuals might not like this as much, but it is an idea, and it might be more fair, maybe for everybody else. Maybe. You guys can let me know your thoughts here on this. Would be raising the Social Security taxes on everybody by a smaller amount. So instead of having the wealthy pay 12.4% and not getting any benefit out of it, would be raising the Social Security taxes by maybe 1% on everybody working. So maybe instead of paying 6.2%, because again, it's the employees and the employers that pay 6.2% and 6.2%. Maybe they could do something like raise it to 6.7%. So maybe raise it a half a percent, or maybe raise it to 7%. So maybe raise it from 6.2% to 7%, or something like that. So that is another idea being tossed around. And you guys can let me know your thoughts on this. So again, they would be able to do the math on this, and the Social Security mathematicians, their CBO, their Congressional Budget Office, could do the math on this and say, okay, we got X amount of workers that are out there working right now. Obviously, the retirees would not be affected by this. It would be better than cuts, because remember that 50% of Americans right now uh, go into retirement with no savings, with no 401ks, no pensions, no IRAs. The other 50% do have, you know, additional money in there. Okay. The other thing they're talking about is raising the retirement age by another 2 years. And remember, they've already been raising that age along the years as well. And we had a Republican congressman who got in a lot of heat here recently by saying people want to work longer. People want to work longer. And it's like, you know, you're thinking some of these retirement ages are already getting up there. You know, that full retirement age is already up to 70 if you want to max out your benefits. But you're thinking about this, it's like, do they really want to? Do people? I don't think people want to work till they're 70 if they don't have to. You know, people like would rather be just, you know, living their golden years and relaxing, and you know, maybe traveling a little bit. But you think about the price of eggs at $8 a dozen, and the cost of rent. The average rent in the United States is $2,000 a month, and we just had gas at $5 a gallon. It was funny. I made a comment the other day in one of the videos. I said that eggs were $8 a gallon, and yeah, I thought that was funny because I seen a lot of people comment, and I was like, oh yeah, you know, yeah, I'm only human. You know, when you're talking about all these through all these videos, sometimes you get a Freudian slip at the tongue, and it says I didn't even know I did it, but I read the comments and I seen a lot of people saying that. I was like, you know what, that was pretty funny, and I commented back to somebody. I said, you know what, if we had to pay for eggs by the gallon, boy, would that be an actual nightmare, right? That's hopefully that doesn't happen, right? Because paying by gas by the gallon is already a nightmare. But you know, maybe you maybe actually would get more eggs if you paid for it by the gallon, right? But yeah, so this is the problem here. It's like, how do you fix Social Security, but um, but make it fair, right? And this is kind of the problem. And the other thing is to be honest, and again, I don't like to pick sides, but to be honest, is that Republicans haven't wanted to raise taxes on the rich or the wealthy or corporations either. So, in fact, they couldn't even get Kirsten Sinema or maybe even really Joe Manchin to raise taxes on the corporations or the wealthy. So it's like, yeah, everybody says, oh, yeah, that's kind of a good idea, but getting the congressman to actually do it is another story. And again, it's like these are the people that are elected. So it's like it doesn't really matter what the average Joe thinks. It matters what the people that are elected think. And you and me and all the people are the people that elect them. And they get elected 95% of the time. The same people get elected year after year after year after year. So yeah, this is the problem. And how they're going to fix it. And if they don't fix it, Social Security starts to run out of money in 10 years. And the most recent report said that they could fully run out of money in 10 years. That's CBO video, or that CBO report. So let me know your thoughts on this. It's very, very concerning, and they're going to have to do something. Or one of my thoughts is they could just give them a bailout. I mean, literally, they passed former President Donald Trump's first stimulus package was 2.2 trillion. Biden's third stimulus package was 1.9 trillion. We'll just call it $2 trillion each for both of them. And nobody paid for them. Nobody paid for them. They just went to the national deficit. Give Social Security a couple trillion. Nobody cared for those packages. But when it comes to Social Security, oh, we have to tax everybody. We have to tax everybody. Everything's got to be paid for. But nobody cares. We just gave $250 billion to corporations for the CHIPS bill. Nvidia and Intel, they got 250 billion. We just gave it to them. Guess what? Nobody paid for that. They didn't get taxed. We gave it to corporations. Why don't we give 250 billion to Social Security? Why don't we give a couple trillion to Social Security? Nobody cares about Social Security. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel. It's completely free to do so. This way you won't miss out on new videos that come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And make sure to click the bell icon after you subscribe. And also thanks so much for liking and sharing these videos. Here's some videos you can watch next. Here is a crazy video about what a U.S. general just said about us potentially going to war. And here's a video about what the feds just said is going to happen here in the next 72 hours. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.